everyone, my name is Kylie and this is going to be the first video on my true crime channel. And for the first case today, we're going to be discussing the disappearance of Natalee Holloway, who vanished without a trace in Aruba in May of 2005. Now, Natalee was only 18 years old when she disappeared. She was from Alabama. She had a loving mom and dad. Although her parents were divorced, she was very happy. She had high honors in school. She was on the dance squad, and she got very good grades, which resulted in her getting a full ride to Alabama State University in that upcoming fall. However, to end her senior year off on a great note, her and her fellow classmates decided to go on an unofficial senior trip to Aruba. The first few days of their trip was absolutely fun and exciting. The legal drinking age in Aruba was a lot lower than it was in the United States. Many of them, it was the first time that they were able to drink, and they went to plenty of nightclubs and parties. A popular bar called Carlos's and Charlie's, which was in downtown Oranjestad in Aruba, and this was close to their Holiday Inn hotel, which was connected to a casino that they also frequented. But the thing is, on the last night that they were there, May 29th, Natalee Holloway and her friends decided to just have one last so they decided to go to the Carlos's and Charlie's, where they met 17-year-old Joanne Vandersloot, as well as two brothers, Deepak Kalpoe and Satish Kalpoe. And although these men were nice to them and they seemed to be local, the girls were a bit at ease about them. These men were very, very nice to the girls, and they seemed to trust them at first. But as the night went on, Natalee and her friends began drinking more, and due to the fact that Natalee was new to drinking and she was rather light, she got intoxicated very quickly. And the last time that anyone saw her were her three friends who witnessed her leaving with Vandersloot and the two brothers. They were getting into a silver Honda, and after that, her friends never saw her again. But it wasn't till the next day, on May 30th, that they really thought that something was off, because they figured that Natalee just went back to the hotel with everyone else, or perhaps went out to more clubs that night before returning. But when it was time to leave at the airport, Natalee never showed up. The next day, her mom and her dad flew out to Aruba for the very first time to start looking for their daughter. They had the police involved and the Arubian government as well. But there was still no sight of her. The police ended up arresting Vandersloot and the Kalpoe brothers and interrogating them on what happened with Natalee. But the three boys claimed that they just dropped her off at the hotel that night and never saw her again. So the authorities were forced to let them go. Her mother, however, did not trust this, and with the help of the Arubian government as well as some of the Dutch Marines, they started to look more into these brothers. Now, after some time, they started looking for a body instead of looking for Natalee. And the Dutch Marines went all up and down the coast searching for her. They even had special goggles that could see if there were any holes dug in the sand or anything that looked slightly off. However, they found nothing. And eventually this resulted in them giving up. Except for her parents never gave up, and instead ended up going after Aruba and started blaming the Arubian police, which resulted in a very, very dramatic drop in tourism to Aruba. Many Americans still, when they go there, think of Natalee and have requested to see certain spots where she went missing, including the Holiday Inn hotel. And after a few years, Vandersloot came forward and admitted to her mother that he knew where her body was. However, when the police went and checked that location, she wasn't there and nothing was found. Her mother, as well as many other people, are convinced that Vandersloot killed her that night, or did something else with her. Possible theories besides murder include human trafficking, which is very, very prominent in that area. In 2012, Natalee was formally claimed as deceased by an Alabama judge, and even though, despite this, her mom is still out there looking for her and has some hope that her daughter is still alive. Additionally, Vandersloot is very scared to go to the United States because he extorted $25,000 from her mother in exchange for that information on where her body would be found. Because this was a lie and because he never came forward with any other information, he is wanted in the United States for arrest. And although justice hasn't been formally served for Natalee's case, another student went missing whose name was Stephanie Flores, and some justice was served despite the fact that it wasn't exactly for Natalee. Vandersloot is currently serving 28 years in prison for the murder of Stephanie Flores, another student who went to Peru instead of Aruba. Although justice hasn't been formally served for Natalee Holloway, Vandersloot is currently serving 28 years in prison for the murder of Stephanie Flores, a student who went to visit Peru, similar to the occasion that Natalee left on. She was found murdered by Vandersloot in his Peru hotel room, which is why he is currently serving a sentence. Her mother, as well as others, are still hopeful that Natalee will be recovered, and in 2020 there was some hope when a Marine found a U.S. woman in Peru. Although rumored that this woman was Natalee, it turns out that it wasn't. I wish that there was more on this case that I could give you guys. However, there's not. This is just a very tragic story about a girl who just wanted to have a little bit of fun before college and celebrate the fact that she'd gotten through high school. Natalee seemed like a very sweet, optimistic, and smart girl, and there was nothing that could have prevented or prompted this tragedy to happen. In 2011, a documentary called Justice for Natalee was created, featuring Beth Holloway, Natalee's mother. This gives a little bit more information as well as insight into how the family feels, and I have to say, my heart especially goes out to Natalee's mother, who has never ever stopped looking for her daughter, even 16 years later. And I really hope that someone out there who knows something will come forward eventually, and that Vandersloot will tell the truth about what really happened to Natalee. We all know that it involved him and the Calpo brothers that day. Now it is up to them to eventually come forward and tell the rest of her story.